You know, I really want a shotgun blaster that can fire repeatedly. But it has to be huge. Cumbersome, even. And it has to carry enough ammunition for when I positively must tag out every single sucker in the room. Well, I'm basically just saying that I want the Nerf DOOMLANDS 2169 The Judge. And yes, it really is that big. Now, I know a lot of you are going to have questions about this thing, and some of those I can, in fact, answer, but let's start with what this blaster is and isn't. It is, in fact, a pump-action, 30-dart, or 10 shots of 3 darts each shotgun that is huge. Very, very big. I've had it called a pumpkin, which is not... I've seen pumpkins smaller than this thing, especially the front end here, which is, of course, like a turbine. And I've also had it compared to, like, a Home Depot 5-gallon bucket, which is, of course, the official sheath of this thing when it goes to a war. It does, in fact, fit in one of those rather nicely. Dumbest things that we do, because this thing's actually been to a war. I wasn't fooling around with this one. I had to see exactly what this thing could do, and what better time to pick it up than right before a war. And you may be wondering, where the heck did you pick this thing up? And I wish I could say something like Target or Walmart, but really I can't, because this didn't come from any real store. I mean, this was kind of just, it just appeared from the Nerf gods themselves, and special thanks to Barrett, who not only fielded this thing in battle to capture some footage for it, because I forgot my GoPro, but is also the one who spent the 3.5 hours driving me there and back, because it was a very arduous task fighting lots of traffic to pick this thing up. But was it worth it? Well, it's a fun blaster to use, but if you're expecting something to replace your sledge fire, you're gonna be very mistaken, because this thing is not a replacement for your sledge fire. This is, well, like 3 or 4 times the size, first of all, and second of all, it's probably not moddable. I say that because I haven't opened it up yet, and we will open it up in another video, but for right now, I'm just gonna get this one out there, because if you've seen how many screws are on this thing, which is a lot, and you've seen the mechanism, which is complex, you'd understand why I haven't opened this thing exactly up quite yet. It's fun, though, I can give you that much, and it is a joy to field because, well, you're pointing this at somebody, which from my angle, I'm just holding a big orange circle in front of people, but you get to see that, and that's intimidating as all heck. It's a fun blaster to use, but quite similar to the whole sledge fire, its distances and operation are almost identical. The plunger tube is a very, very similar size, which you can see if you look in this clear plastic up at the front, and the distances are about the same. With a decent dart at a decent angle, you're going to get about 45-50 feet max. However, that is not a huge problem because it happens to carry 30 darts. And if you think this thing is just too big to ever run around with, you would be wrong! Because we put a bandolier on this thing and it happens to be exceedingly comfortable to have slung around your body because the sides of it are so thin, the back ends of it, which would touch your body, are rounded. It just happens to work very well and doesn't really get in the way all that much. And because it's so big and heavy, it doesn't really bounce around a whole lot. And that makes it actually kind of a serviceable room-clearing blaster, and that's pretty much the category I'm going to put it in, because you're not really going to miss your shots if you're ducking up from behind cover or going around corners and shooting a pump-action shotgun that never runs out of ammo, it feels like. 30 darts is not a small number. You gotta imagine that some people running stripes with maybe 35-round magazines, if theirs happens to feed all reliable, but most of the time people are carrying 18s, and this carries 30. And to reload it, well, it's kind of awkward because you have to kind of tilt it like this to even see what darts you have, but I found it very, very easy to just kind of go like this, and then you're good. It's a good thing the back end of it is so thin to allow you to do that, because you're going to be carrying this thing like you're going to be carrying a keg. It's very easy to reload after that fact, and then it just, of course, rotates by hand. Now, because of the way I received this blaster, which was like this, with DOOMLANDS darts stuck in the front of it and taped shut, I don't really know what the packaging is like, but I can gather some interesting details, because if you look at this blaster, the entirety of it especially at the front end, is all snap-on pieces that are meant to snap on and then never come off. In fact, the holes on the side of the blaster right here are meant to allow you to access the screws to take the thing apart, which is really, really annoying. And the whole turret up at the front is meant to be segments which snap together and form the actual blaster itself. So, yeah, it's gonna be one of those kinds of packages. I mean, you weren't honestly expecting them to ship this thing like this. The box would be Mastodon. I mean, if the Mastodon you could break apart, but this thing just, it would be the biggest box ever. It would be very, very silly. It does work though, and I wish I could share some instructions or something with it, but I don't have those either. What I do have is a very good opinion on this thing, because I have had it for a couple of days now. And I would say, for those of you who already decided you want this thing, you've probably already decided to pick one up, and if you were expecting shotgun level ranges, you're not going to be unimpressed. However, for those of you who are on the fence, and that's going to be 90% of you who are thinking, I hope it fires better than a sledge fire, well, it really doesn't, and that's going to be kind of the crux of the entire blaster's recommendation. If you have a area you play in, or you just want one for fun, maybe it's for a house battle or a basement battle, or maybe you have an arena near you where you can go that has lots of cover, this thing is going to be fun. It's not really all that usable in super confined spaces, and you're kind of gonna use it like this, but it is fun, and it does work, and I can give it that much. There is one slight issue I've had with it, and that's when, if you're running this thing pretty hard, sometimes when you prime it, you notice how right there it did not actually rotate? If you shove it too hard, it will not rotate. It will skip, which may break something in the future, and worst of all, that means that you didn't rotate the cylinder, so your next shot is going to be empty. You have to use it kinda gingerly. That is a lot of darts. This thing carries a lot of ammunition on it. It's a pretty attractive package in my opinion. It looks like the junk jet from Fallout, and I know a lot of people are going to paint it to look like that, and it deserves it, because it pretty much is the Nerf junk jet. It's kind of junk. It looks like a jet turbine. What more could you possibly want? I will say, ergonomics-wise, the grip is very good. It's just beefy enough for everybody to get a good grip on it. The front priming grip is very large and has this nice texture. In fact, all of this black plastic has a very fine triangle texture that's imprinted on it, which makes it not only very cool looking, but very comfortable to hold. There's no slippage or anything like that. And even in the grip right here, for color separation wise, there's a different kind of studded orange plastic with a different kind of texture on it, and then the rest of it's all that black plastic. And then even on the blaster itself, these are all separately molded pieces, the darker plastic anyway, and even there's like little vents right here that are different colored inserts and all that stuff, and it looks really darn good. And then you turn it around and you realize that this is all one piece of plastic, which completely ruins any good reason to paint this thing in a way you would possibly want by making these different colors, and then you'd have to tape this off, and it's going to be a pain in the... why would you do that to us, Hasbro? Even other blasters, it's like they come apart in halves, like the Crossbolt or the freaking Mastodon. This is halfway done. Why? It's going to be so hard to paint that. In fact, a lot of this blaster is going to be hard to paint because there's no real natural edges on this thing. It's going to be impossible to tape off. So just plan on painting this one color, this another, and that the final color, because that's probably what you're going to get. It's not going to be the best cosmetic thing, although I'm really hoping to be proven wrong by masters like Johnson Arms and Landgrave Customs and all that, because this thing really needs some love. It's mostly just stock orange plastic. Well, that just about does it for the Nerf DOOMLANDS 2169 The Judge. And yes, it is The Judge, not a judge. It says it proudly on the front of it. Let me know what you think about this blaster down in the comments section below. And yes, I will be opening this thing up tomorrow. So if you're watching this in the future, well, click on the video at the end with all the other ones and whatnot, or the card that's going to appear in the top right corner, whatever. I needed to put this video out and make peace with myself before I break it. That's all. At least it's been to a war. It's not going to die in vain. I'm Walcom S7. Thank you so much for watching this video. And of course, I hope to see you in an entirely different one.